your name. If you could just give me your full name and who you're representing here today, whether you're a member of the applicant or owner team or someone from the neighborhood or community or someone else. So we'll start with Richard Posey.
Richard Posey, principal with K4 Architecture, representing the applicant, Xavier Jesuit Academy.
Okay, great. Welcome. Gary Gilbert. You'll need to unmute, Mr. Gilbert.
There we go. Gary Gilbert with the Cincinnati Zoo. We are working with the Reds Community Fund for the Xavier Jesuit Academy.
Okay, great. Welcome. Nathan Wendt.
Hi, good morning. I'm Father Nathan Wendt. I'm the president of Xavier Jesuit Academy.
Okay, great. Welcome. Charlie Frank.
Good morning. I'm the director of the Reds Community Fund. We're in our 15th year of our community makeover partnership with the Cincinnati Zoo, P&G, Cincinnati Children's, Kroger, GE, United Way, and several others, with a huge focus this year on a handful of projects, none more substantial than partnering with Father Wendt and the Xavier Jesuit Academy.
Okay, great. Welcome. I have someone under DV.
Yep. Good morning. My name is Dean Violetta. I'm with the Cincinnati Zoo and Botanical Garden, and here to represent the Reds Community Fund.
Okay, great. Could you spell your last name for me?
Sure. V as in Victor, IOLETTA.
All right, great. Welcome.
Thank you.
We also have Matt Lascheid here from the City Planning Department. Welcome, Matt.
Hey, thanks, David. Good morning, everybody.
And we have Molly Baker, who is just going to be observing today. She's an intern at the law department. And I see that Kyle Chandler has joined. Mr. Chandler, are you with us?
Hi, yep, I'm Kyle Chandler. I'm here on behalf of Xavier Jesuit Academy.
Okay, great. Welcome. All right, let's go ahead and get started. I know several of you have been through this process before, so you're aware that I need to start by reading the zoning hearing script, which just covers the procedure of the hearing, and then we'll get into it. So it looks like there's one more person joining, but I'm going to go ahead and start the script. This is the July 10th, 2024 session of the zoning hearing examiner docket. My name is David Sturkey. I'm the zoning hearing examiner for the city of Cincinnati. I'll be presiding over this hearing. The case before us is case number ZH20240079. That's 1619 California. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and any potential opposing parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the zoning hearing examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any potential opposing party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. If there were anyone here from the public, they would have an opportunity to speak after the applicant has presented its case. I'll hear from the planning department and Mr. Lascheid to provide testimony in addition to his staff report. In the event that any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to this application, the applicant will have an opportunity to respond to that argument offered in opposition. And then finally, the applicant will have an opportunity to make closing statements. After all presentations have been made, I will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or make comments. In the event of any technical difficulties with the Zoom technology, I'll do my best to troubleshoot those issues on the fly, but to the extent there is some defect that prevents us from meaningfully going forward with this hearing, I may continue to postpone the hearing at my discretion. Okay, last thing I need to do is just swear in all of our witnesses. If you intend on providing any testimony here today, making any comments, asking any questions, really doing anything other than just strictly observing, that the zoning code requires that I swear you in. So if you know that that's you, I'm going to collectively swear everyone in together right now. So if you could take yourself off mute, I'll need everyone to raise their right hand and to answer out loud. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
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 Thanks, everyone. All right. Who's going to be taking the lead here on the applicant's presentation?
Brian, are you speaking?
You're taking the lead. We can't hear you.
Yes, 1 second. Showing that I'm here and I'm getting readings.
We can hear you now, Brian. Now we lost you again.
How about now?
We can hear you now.
That's better.
And could you before you start, could you state your name for the record, please, and who you're representing here today? Did
Brian Bruner with Cape Coral Architecture.
you say River?
Bruner, Bruner.
Got it. Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Bruno. The floor is yours.
Just want to thank y'all again for the chance to meet with the body here. Keep this brief as this time is a little different. We're kind of facilitating our role with a donation. This donation is to Xavier Jesuit Academy in conjunction with the Reds Community Makeover. So we'll have more on that in a minute. But the neighborhood of Bond Hill was selected as a site for the 2024 Reds Community Makeover. So in partnership with Cincinnati Zoo, the makeover team worked with Xavier Jesuit Academy. They currently have a couple of permits in with the city of Cincinnati as well. As we know, we've met before on previous zoning hearings regarding this property. But the makeover team worked with Xavier Jesuit Academy in the creation of this outdoor learning garden that we're seeking relief for today. Highlights for the learning garden are a wood trellis complete with a small platform for instruction. This will sit at the end of a winding gravel pathway. The pathways in the garden itself are used particularly for, like I said, instruction, pathways for prayer and reflection. There's going to be experience in landscaping here. Representative from the zoo will speak on this in a moment as well. Sticking to the architectural side of it. As we know, the school is an acceptable use within the SF4 district. As we are extending school activities outside of the building, this is triggering the requirement for a conditional use. We are seeking relief from the requirements here and applying for the conditional use permit as well as necessary variance for the trellis and platform as they sit in the side yard. The existing site the learning garden area that we selected is sitting in the side yard. So as we're putting an accessory structure on that side yard, we are seeking a variance for that as well. Along with the permit for the trellis and platform and extension of the school functions, we are also seeking release for a 6-foot tall boundary fence that will define the space of the learning garden. So with that being said, I would like to turn the floor over to the the Reds Community Makeover Fund to kind of speak on that first, and then we'll go to the Cincinnati Zoo to speak on the functions of the learning garden. So take it away, Charlie.
So again, and I know David and Matt that we were on a similar call a year ago as we were working in Madisonville, to take a step back and just give you the overview of this project. The Reds and the Reds Community Fund have partnered with P&G dating back to 2010, and the zoo and children's hospital came on board and never left beginning in 2013, and we've added partners ever since. So we've raised close to $1 million in cash. The in-kind beyond that is probably 2x when we factor in all of the services provided by the zoo, and when we factor in all the donated leadership time provided by P&G and the zoo and others. So this is a massive undertaking. We find a different Cincinnati community every year. This is the first time in 15 years that we've been in Bond Hill. Each year we look for sort of an anchor portion or an anchor partner, and we're very fortunate to cross paths with the leadership at Xavier Jesuit Academy, where we feel as though the layers of volunteer work that get done as a part of this annual makeover project fit beautifully with an entity like the Jesuit Academy that's coming online in August. So we felt like we could provide some of the unique resources to help them launch. They've obviously got a great team with Triversity and K4. And I think, I know that Gary and Dean and others from the zoo have really been very mindful and respectful of wanting to support the construction effort, knowing that it's winding up soon. I think, the primary piece of this that, we're here talking about today is the learning garden, the urban learning garden on the west side of the building, similar to the conversations we had last year at John P. Parker Elementary in Madisonville, and similar to the extraordinary garden that exists very close to the zoo's campus at Rockdale Academy in Avondale. This is really the arguably the extraordinary leap behind, because this is something that will benefit the entire community and not just the students at Xavier Jesuit Academy. Just for additional context, there's work that's being done in conjunction with CPS at Bond Hill Academy, with CRC at the Bond Hill Community Center, with CRC at the Bond Hill Park on Yarmouth, and with the Church of the Redeemer and St. Vincent de Paul at the Bond Hill Food Pantry, and one of the adjacent buildings to the school parking lot. So that's sort of the overview and history. Brian, is there anything else that you wanted me to touch on before handing off to the Zoom?
Brian, we cannot hear you.
I muted as he was talking. I was just saying, Charlie, that's a great overview. And feel free to pass to Lee.
So I can speak a little bit on the behalf of the zoo. David and Matthew, I appreciate your time and effort. As Charlie mentioned a second ago, we were in a similar situation last year. We apologize for putting you in the position where you're having to put this hearing together at the last minute. We will not make a habit of this. We apologize. So we have been partners with the Reds Community Fund for several years now, and from our standpoint, from the zoos and botanical garden standpoint, the garden and each particular project, every year has been a highlight for us. It's what we focus on. It's what we're very good at. And we've been working with Father Wendt on this project for several months now, and have come up with some what we think are going to be very cool and conceptual ideas. And we are speaking on behalf of our Director of Horticulture, Steve Foltz, who is not able to make it today. But our intent is to create a very beautiful botanical setting for Father Wendt that his students can enjoy, his students can reflect, his students can learn about anything botanical related. So creating that educational moment, but also that's serene and very an area where they can meditate and kind of reflect. Steve Foltz is the best of the best. We are very lucky to have him at the zoo, and the city is lucky to have him as well. And Steve will mastermind all the plants that go into this area. He will come up with the final layout. I believe Brian has indicated where certain paths will go, where this platform will go, and the structure. And then at the base of that, Steve will come in and, we like to say, do his magic. All of his plants will be indigenous or non-invasive. I believe the plant list was submitted to the city. And it's, as Charlie mentioned, it's really kind of magical when it's all said and done, and it'll be enjoyed by the school and the community. So if there's any other information that I could provide, please let me know. But thank you again for your time and effort. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
David, I'd like to, if HJ18 has any comments before I pass it to, Rick Posey to kind of close up the closing statements to represent the architecture team, then we'll turn it to you guys from the city. So Father Nathan or Kyle, do you have any additional, information that you'd like to share regarding the creation of the learning garden and the function that it'll serve for the school?
Sure. I mean, I'll share this. I mean, I echo everyone else's sentiments, David and Matt. Certainly appreciate your time. I think this is the third time in the last year that we've had an opportunity to kind of have some kind of conversations about Xavier Jesuit Academy. Um, I think hopefully at this point you recognize that uh, we're very intentional with everything that we did inside of our four walls and crafting our curriculum, our enrichment, our culture, and everything. And then to have an opportunity, thanks to Charlie and the Reds Community Fund, to engage with a partner like the Cincinnati Zoo. I mean, literally a titan in the community was just kind of a dream come true. And so I think for us, knowing what it takes to engage young men and having an opportunity to utilize nature as a key component in their education, like, I mean, we really recognize that theoretical learning, textbook learning is big, but also hands-on instruction is really what kind of allows kids to see science, to see the world in action. And so I think this learning garden really provides us with an opportunity for the kids to see it and have native plant species that they'll see on a daily basis and be able to understand and identify. Really allows us to kind of extend our classroom outside of just the building and into their actual communities to when they can then impart that knowledge onto their parents, their families, and their friends. I think the other part is from a mental health standpoint. I think we recognize that nature has proven itself to be a tremendous prescription for a lot of the things that ail young kids to get them unplugging from technology, but also just being outside, breathing air with their brothers and establishing relationships and friendships. And so we think that with the amphitheater, kind of having this pollinator garden, having a reflective space, that this will allow us to accomplish everything that we set out there to have a transformational educational experience. So thank you for hearing our thoughts on this.
Okay, thank you. I have a couple of questions before I turn it over to Mr. Lashide. So I've heard learning garden, reflection, um, things like that. Could you tell me a little bit more about the use? And in particular, one of the variance requests is it's a locational variance for an accessory structure in a side yard. And as I look at the neighborhood and the adjacent property owners, it looks like it's very close to a couple residential properties. And correct me if I'm wrong on that, but can you talk some more about the use? Will this be an outdoor classroom and a place for silent reflection, or will this be more of a recreational use with kids in more of a free play setting?
Yeah. Our plan is for this not to be just for free play.
Is it for free play at all?
No. We have a parking lot and we have a playground. The Bond Hill Park is right behind us. And so this won't be used for free play. In fact, we made a point to speak with all of the immediate neighbors, kind of who share that fence line with us, both right on the other side of the fence, the other side of another corner, just to make sure they fully understood our usage of it. And the reality is they were very excited to know, number one, that fence would be replaced, but also to know that our young people will be using the outdoor space in a constructive way. But it isn't just for outdoor free play. We'd be using either the parking lot, we have a multi-purpose room inside of our building, or we use Bond Hill Park for that.
Yes, and David, I am sharing the footprint of the learning garden is for further discussion. But as you can see, there is not a large area within the learning garden for students to play. Everything will be structured. The pathways are mainly for walking and reflection. They are not wide enough for activities to occur. And the instruction that would happen here is of a tighter knit to where students will not have free room to basically be loud for adjacent neighbors. Everything here will be contained, and you'll always have school personnel monitoring the situation, making sure that noise levels and things like that are accommodated.
Got it. Okay. And Thanks. Could you tell me more about the fence itself and any additional buffering between this area and the neighboring residential properties?
Yes, so there is an existing chain link fence that's actually right on the property line. That fence, we are not removing, but we are going to be insetting a new wood fence to better protect and define the space. So that wood fence, you can see on the plans that are going here. That wood fence, like I said, is inset from the property line a little further in than the existing chain link fence. That fence, like I said, will protect the students. It will potentially serve, and I included this within the project materials, but there's potentially going to be a mural on the inside of that fence. It's primarily for protecting the students, though. It is egregiously high. It's on 6 feet in height. Should be up here. I believe I sent these in an email to David or Michael, so I'll read it along this binder. Yes. Well, this is an example of kind of mural that we could do on the inside of the fence. This is similar to what the Cincinnati Zoo does as well within their facility. But yes, the planks are opaque. They're not neighbors would not be able to see into the learning garden. So any function that would be distracting to just neighbors, those would be screened effectively. And I believe that's it. That answers your question.
Yeah, I think it does. Thanks.
David, would you mind if I added to what Brian just mentioned?
No, not at all.
Thank you. So along that bordering fence with our neighbors, it's full of some nice established trees. There's also some honeysuckle, which is an invasive species, as we all know. And there's also some other plants that may or may not want to be salvaged. We are going to be very, very methodical as we start to remove plants along that border, that edge, because what we want to do with at least some of the taller trees is we want to maintain those, because next door the neighbor has a 2-story structure, and we want to maintain a really nice screen for them and for them and for us. So as we start to remove some of these lower bushes, the idea is that the fence would supplement those or take the place of those to create that lower screen, but then maintain the upper screen from about 8 to 12 or higher. So we're going to be very, very careful as we start to remove bushes from that area to make sure we maintain a very, very natural screen with our neighbors. So I just wanted to add that.
Okay, thank you. I think the last question I have is this only envisioned to be used during school hours, or is this something where there will be events or activities held outside of school hours, either in the evenings or on weekends?
We're occupying a space that's owned by the Church of the Resurrection. And so I think there may be opportunities when they might want to use that quiet reflective space for a retreat, for a gathering. I wouldn't say for a wholesale celebration. As you can see, I mean, the face isn't really outfitted for a massive number of people, but from the school standpoint, we don't really have any intentions at this time of utilizing it significantly outside of school hours. I mean, I can't guarantee if we had we wouldn't let parents kind of walk that space after school if they wanted to, but nothing to where we would allow it to be extremely disruptive to our neighbors.
Gotcha. So the school does not intend to use it for any events outside of school hours. Okay. So people may be on it, but no official school events or programs or things like that.
Right.
I'm sorry, did you say correct?
You're correct. Yep.
Okay, thanks. All right. I think that's all the questions I have. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Lashad Mr. Lashad, is there anything you wanted to add in addition to your staff report?
Not too much. I think everyone here on the applicant team did a pretty good job of summarizing the project. As Mr. Frankenbrunner mentioned, we've worked with Reds Community Foundation and the zoo on the project at the John P. Parker School last year through similar relief, which was approved. And Xavier Jesuit's been back here a couple times. We've been working with them as well. The relief that's required is conditional use approval because a school is a conditional use in a single family zoning district. So expanding that use and adding new areas where, children will be recreating in some fashion requires additional approval. And there is an accessory structure, which the code requires they be in the rear yard. The proposed location is in the side yard. So a variance is required. Reviewing that, there has been a lot of buffering and landscaping and fencing that's proposed to limit any adverse impacts that might occur for neighboring property owners. The building has been set back, I think it's about 6 feet from the property line with fencing and landscaping. So we don't envision, too much concern for people that live nearby. And regarding the location, I think it's worth noting that although it's in the side yard of this property, it is adjacent to the rear yards of the neighboring properties. So, looking up and down the streetscape, this detached accessory structure is in the same place as neighboring properties would be allowed to have one, like a shed or a detached garage. It's really only needing a variance because the property's unusually shaped and unusually large, and we don't anticipate any negative impacts as a result of that. So with that said, staff's happy to recommend approval. I'm here if you have any questions.
Okay, thank you. All right, I think we'll go back to anyone from the applicant or owner team to respond to anything Matt said or any of my questions, or provide any closing remarks. Anything? Okay. I think I'm hearing no. Is that right? Okay. All right, so we'll leave it at that then. I haven't had a chance to review the application materials and the staff report, and based on that, based on the testimony that I've heard here today, I am going to approve the application. I need to formalize that, I think, as most of you know, in a written decision. And I know that you all are on somewhat of a timeline here, and so I will do my best to get that out to you all as soon as possible. If you all have, is there a sort of drop dead date here? I think that's the right term, that you would need your permits.
So the event is on August 1st, and I know I know your release needs to happen prior to the building department releasing their permits as well. So I'd assume if you have your permit released prior to July 22nd, that should give the building department enough time to see your approval and then have it released in time for the 8/1 event.
Right, and we also have to get in there and do some of the pre-work before Volunteer Day to get the trellis structure ready and get the decking. We'll do the deck, everything but the decking. So we'll have volunteers help with that on day of. So we do have some work we need to get in ahead of time to do if possible.
Got it. Okay. So I believe that shouldn't be an issue to get that out in that time frame. If for any reason you don't hear from me or don't receive a decision before you feel like you're sort of running out of time on the permits, just reach out to me directly and I'll let you know where I'm at on it. But I'll do everything I can to get that out to you as soon as possible. And I mentioned before we have a little help from some summer interns, so hopefully that will expedite things as well. Okay. If you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Otherwise, hope you all have a wonderful day. Good luck on the project. See you next summer to some of you, and take care. We're adjourned.